G'day. What a couple of days. Started off in Hill End, drove down the bridle track, what a white knuckle drive that was. Then the following day did some gold prospecting here in Sofala. By the end of the day I had a piece of meteorite in my hand. Go figure. Let's go. I'm at Hill End and having the luxury of a powered site. Now that's definitely worth it if you want to luxuriate a bit. So it gives you full 240 volt into the caravan or your camper trailer, whatever you've got. If you want a 30% discount, then you pop over onto one of the unpowered sites and you still have pretty much everything you need. And that everything you'll need is hot showers. Press the button and it lasts, I think, about 5 minutes or 3 minutes, but that brings you hot water, so that's access part of your non-powered site. And you also have a hot water tub outside of the toilets where you can fill up or wash your dishes. What I do is I take my boiling water, bring it back in the caravan and use it for washing dishes, save boiling up my own water. And the great thing about this is it's all grass. And there's another caravan site which is literally about 2 or 3 kilometres from here, but it's mostly gravel. But you can drive in and drive out quite easily. Some of these sites can be a bit tricky. If you go in the powered sites and you've got a big van like mine, I'd recommend either number 15 or number 10 when you're booking. So watch out for that. Another thing I like about this camp is the fact you've got instant hot water here. Now rather than getting the water out of my caravan and using it and boiling it on a saucepan, I can come down here, it's instant hot water, I put it in, get my saucepan, take it back in the caravan, do all my washing there rather than the washing up here. Now if I do the washing up here, it's going to take about 15 litres of water just to put it on the bottom of the sink, bottom of the basin. So I don't want to waste water here and I don't want to waste water up there. So win-win, outside hot water. Good morning, top of the morning to you. Now I'm just about to head off to the shower. It's okay, don't panic. You won't have any nudie scenes. And if I look a little dishevelled, it's very early in the morning and I just wanted to show you the process. Out here at the moment there's frost on the grass. Not sure if you can see that. Yeah, a bit of frost on the grass. I think it's about 3 degrees, so no heat wave yet. Anywho, the reason I wanted to show you what's special about this particular Anywho, the reason I want to show you this setup is that got a slightly different system here. You need to, when you book in, they will give you a magic code to get into the door of the shower, of the facilities. And once you're in there, and again it's a slightly different system for getting your... good morning kookaburras. For getting into the shower to work. So here we go. Well, here it is. Perhaps a bit of a secret. It's a great place to check it out. It's called Merlin's Lookout, and it's quite close to the that mine, which I can't think of at the moment. The view is absolutely outstanding, so I'll get out the road and let you enjoy it. Well, I wouldn't say it's the best kept secret, but it's certainly one of them. Just out of Hill End, a place called Merlin, or Merlin's Lookout, and the view is absolutely outstanding. So if you're going to come to Hill End, make it your effort to pop up here, and you know what? It's free. Makes it even better. Back in the 1870s, it would take them about a week to dig down 1.8 to 3 metres. That's about 6 to 10 foot a week. And so they would dig down, they would blast, they'd do everything they could to make that progress. So as I said earlier on, the Bayer and Halterman had already gone down 40 metres to find that massive piece of gold. Good morning, top of the morning to you. What a great day. Hopefully you can hear that. That's the morning awakening of the Kookaburra. And this is an absolutely outstanding view. So am I going to stand in front of you and potentially ruin it? I'll let you enjoy it. Here's a tiny random tip, real tiny, real quick. When you plug in 240 volts on a caravan side and it's not working, which it wasn't working when I got here, make certain this little switch is in the up position. That means it's turned on. If it's in the down position for whatever reason, it might have had a short, or might have the breaker might have turned it off. Always make certain it's in the up position. Almost always that'll give you power. Here's a random tip for you. Ever been to a caravan park, you plugged in your power, go inside hoping it's all ready to go, turns out no power in the caravan. Now you can either go through the whole caravan, check the fuses, check all your powers and so on and so forth, or come to the box here, make certain that first of all click the safety switch, that'll reset it, and make certain the switch is up, then you'll have power. I'm out at History Hill. Now this is a private enterprise run by a guy called Malcolm, who is an ex-miner. Wow, did he have a couple of stories. Now you might be lucky or unlucky to be able to have a quick chat to him, and yeah, he's got some real stories about the Hill End area and his experience as a miner. Anywho, the place is well worth a visit, and at $10, seriously, if you didn't spend an hour and a half to 2 hours, I'd be surprised. So it's well worth it. It's got everything documented, and every time you see a little bit of an old tool or a picture or part of an old school or anything, it's all got a little plaque and it says what it's all about. So you really must pop out here. Great value, gives you a really good idea of the area of Hill End and Tambaroora. The roasting pits here were manned by some very, very talented engineers, not just any old dudes that off the side of the road, had to be extremely skilled. What they would do is they would pour in the quartz, then they would top that up with firewood, then a bit more quartz and a bit more firewood. And so what would happen, that intense heat would actually make the quartz quite brittle and easy to separate from the gold and the quartz. They would then take it out of that once it was cooled down somewhat. They would then put it into the stamp, usually the 12-pin stamp. That stamp would then crush it up and crush it into powder. The powder would then go into a long tom. The long tom would, with water being poured in as well, would separate the gold, and the remaining would just pour out, just pour into the creek. And that was their process of using the roasting pits. Welcome to four-wheel drive tours. You can do a tour of Hill End, but it's I couldn't quite work it out. I think it's on Saturdays, and it wasn't quite clear about how much you had to pay, and all seemed a bit tricky, so I'll do the tour for you. Now this is, I'm pretty sure, one you can actually rent. So rather than if you're staying camping or tenting or whatever, you can actually stay in the little cottages here. Pretty sure you book it on National Parks website. But looking at that door locking system, it definitely looks as though they'll give you the magic key, magic numbers, and in you go. I'll just see if I can get a year on this. No, I can't give you a year, but it was called Sydney Hotel Cottage, and obviously I think it's around about the 1870s, thereabouts, so quite amazing. Now the other thing you'll find as you're walking or driving, you probably should walk because there's so many little plaques. Quite a few of them are just plaques and said this is where the hotel was, this is where the bank was, so on and so forth. Now I'm not going to spend too much time on that because I'm not into it. I'm into this is where it was, this is not what it looked like, this is it. So let's move on to the next one. Now this old building is called Hosie's, and it was a general store and restaurant and all that sort of stuff. It was fairly frequented in its period, in its time. Back in the day this was the butcher's. This building is the assay office where you go and get your miners right. And I love this little enhancement, I suppose you'd say, of the little kerosene lanterns. It's actually two of them. Love it. This is the old tennis court. Now, doesn't look as though it's overly used at the moment, and I'm guessing rather than the late 1800s, 1870, etc., it's probably more like the 1950s that this was used. Anyway, that's all guesstimate, and it's mostly inhabited this whole area with kangaroos. Yeah, very Australian. I'm entering Golden Gully. I'm in an area called Golden Gully, and you can pretty much see why. It's not even just the time of the day, however, it is a beautiful time of the day because the sun's kind of getting in the little crevices and all that. But yeah, in its day, this place was out of control. There was mostly alluvial gold when they first got here, so if they weren't picking it off the ground literally, they'd be, you know, got the little gold sieve or whatever they call it, and they'd be doing all that, and they did really, really well. And then when all that sort of looked as though it ran out, then they started putting shafts down. So these days you've got to be really careful if you're here. There's areas you're not supposed to go because there's supposed to be mine shafts just everywhere, and they can't really control it and cover them all. So if you do get here, be aware. But it's outstanding. I almost stumbled upon it just looking at the one brochure that you can get about the whole area. It did talk about this Golden Gully, so I thought I'd pop in and just check it out for you. Beautiful area. Not really great for walking, so be careful. You could sprain an ankle, or you could end up on your bot slipped over. I'm out at Hill End Tambaroora Goldfields. This is the Valentine gold mine. All around here it's called the Valentine, and it was very successful. It was set up in 1851, and that's when they had their most success. They initially started off alluvial gold mining, and as soon as they picked everything off the ground they could find, they then went underground and took it out of the, crushed it out of the quartz rocks. So that's what these were basically doing. Quite an amazing thing, and pretty popular back in those days. at the moment there's lots of signs everywhere. Please be careful. In fact, it's a whole section here that's fenced off, so you can't even go even if you wanted to. Just a quick piece to camera because it started to rain. This stamp battery was bought by the local publican, Harriet Beard, and the gold was initially discovered in 1851. 1861 she bought this and brought this down to the Valentine gold mine. The sound of these things when they were running is absolutely phenomenal. It's so noisy and it shakes the ground. So yeah, they would process the ore there, smash it all up, and then they would filter out the gold from that. How you doing? Do you know where Monaghan's Bluff is?
Yeah. Keep on going.
Oh yeah, no worries. There's very few tracks that I'll go down with the caravan that I'm a little bit anxious about. This one is definitely one of them, and but I love this area, so I'm going to work out how to get down there. Certainly the first alternative to the track really could be catastrophic. And I'll take my time down this, and I've secured as much as I can inside the caravan because I know it's going to do all of this, and I don't want to get in there and look as though someone's broken a few eggs and scrambled them everywhere. So let's go. Now I'm safely ensconced in my beautiful little camp spot. I realised I've got to get out of here now. Driving forward I've got to be a bit careful because I will end up hitting fairly deep loose gravel, and I don't have a winch and there's no one here, so I don't want to get myself to too much mischief. So I've decided what I'll do, and also, and whether you noticed, but the caravan door is facing up to the road and the bush. I want it facing around to the water and the cliff face, so I need to turn it around. And finally, I need to drive out of here at some stage anyway, so while it's early in the morning and I've got some enthusiasm and a bit of strength in me, I might as well do the hard yards now and see how we go. So let's do it. Change of plans. Now I've noticed that if I go try and turn off, don't forget I've got 14 metres in length to try and turn. If I turn here I'll probably get stuck in the loose gravel. If I backed up and tried to turn in that, I'll probably get stuck in the loose gravel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up 100 metres. Let's hope my backing skills are okay. I'm going to back up 100 metres, go through, there's a bit of hard stuff there, and then back all the way down to here where it's got nice open space, so I'll pick up my Starlink and I'll be able to settle for a couple of days, hopefully. Let's go. Good morning, top of the morning to you. Well, I've got to say, there's a certain chill in the air. I'm camped in a little spot. There's no one else here. Who'd have thought? I've only just started filming because the fog has been too thick and you probably wouldn't see me. As you can see, there's still some mist behind me, and even the kangaroos aren't up. Last night the kangaroos and goats sort of surrounded the caravan, which is quite sweet, and got to see them close up. And also yesterday there was up on the top of the cliff, there was a couple of goats that had kind of wandered, found their way there, but they were looking out over the edge and they wanted to move forward. But believe me, I don't know how big that drop is, but it's definitely a fatal drop. So maybe I will find a kangaroo or so. Might even be too cold for them. Anywho, let's go for a wander. As I was saying, it's a bit cold and not a lot in the way of wild animals. However, if I manage to keep quiet for a minute, we might perhaps hear some birds or kookaburra or something. This place is absolutely outstanding. I love it. I'll rate this as one of my favourites in all of New South Wales. And at the moment, this time of the year, there's not many people here because probably too cold. Anywho, I took a bit of a wander yesterday and I'll go again today, and that's one of the reasons I've got my slippers on. I call them slippers, you call them gumboots. They're really quite comfortable. I can just slip into them, walk across the creek without getting wet. Now there is a kangaroo over yonder, but I don't think we're going to see him. I don't think you'll see him because the naked eye and the cameras, they're really quite different, as you know. I wanted to show you this. Now this is, I filmed this yesterday, or part of it, driving down with the caravan. It doesn't look very aggressive when I've replayed the video, but that's quite common. Someone can film, or someone can film someone going down this incredibly steep slope just without the caravan, a car, four-wheel drive, and when you're doing it, think, oh, this is like breathtaking, real danger. When you play it back, someone says, oh, it's a pretty meek kind of a hill. However, the other choice I had, when you're coming off the road, if you don't know the area and it says, oh yeah, drive down into the campsite this way, believe me, it would pretty much almost be impossible not to be catastrophic if you just started driving. Doesn't look too radical. I'll take a static photo and hopefully that might show you a little bit better.
Gold was discovered here in March 1851, and they say by Christmas 1851 there was 25,000 people living here. They took out just over 1 million ounces, and that doesn't count what miners took out themselves.
Was there many pubs in town?
51, plenty of pubs to drink at. A lot of trees were used to burn in the boilers for the steam engines, and the stamper batteries that were around crushed the quartz to get the gold out. Timber was a big thing in those days. Everything, you know, I mean, there was no gas or electricity, heating or cooking or anything like that, so everything was wood. Most of these buildings that are here today were built from 1852 onwards.
I'm here in Sofala in the museum. It's not a lot of museums in Sofala because Sofala's not that big, but I've got to say this is a great museum in the sense that you don't often find places that are, I don't know, really open about this is the stuff I've got, this is stuff I've collected. And behind me, I don't even want to get as close as I am now, but behind me is some absolute gold. It's the biggest piece of gold that's been found in the area, and the owner Rick, but he's happy enough to be called Mr. Wiggles, and I'll send you a photo of him, then you'll know why maybe. Or better even still, come to his museum and then you'll know why he's called Mr. Wiggles. Great guy. Anyway, his background, he's a locksmith. So what better than to have a massive safe like this with a massive lock. I'm not going to show you lots and lots of things in this museum because why would you bother? But I've just got to tell you this, and again, I'm touching it. This is a meteorite or piece of meteorite that landed in Argentina, and apparently this particular area there was lots of fragments of the meteorite. What's it look like? What's it feel like? Well, it feels really heavy. It's some ways a little bit like iron. However, I'm going to try and show you this picture, but it's kind of complicated because the structure and the way that the meteorite is formed, it's too complicated. But what I can tell you is the cooling down process is, I'm going to write the specifics, because the specifics of how it actually cools down the meteorite is phenomenal. It's like 1 degree in a million years or something. I'll write it down there for you. Now I've got to show you this. This is authenticated, this little document, and if you were to jump on the Nakila Meteorite website and typed in NWA 11273, you would find this. And this here is a piece of the moon. So I can literally say, not many people in this world can say, I have touched the moon. How good is that? Well, there you go.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's the meteorite collection there, and the objects in the case, they're 4.6 billion years old. They're older than the Earth upon which we're standing. And here in my hand I have a little piece of the moon that is actually a fragment of the lunar surface. And that little piece there, because it's further away, it's smaller, that's a little piece of Mars.
That's the end of this little segment, all about the goldfields of Hill End and Sofala, and with a little bit of Wallaby rocks thrown in. I've changed the format a little bit at the front. Let me know if you approve or disapprove, and any other comments you've got, that would be great as well. If you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you think the video is worth sharing, I would appreciate it. Until next time, this is Paul Will Drive, signing off.